And God is always listening to the prayers that we are always asking for. So that in that time, of course, obviously I did not end my life. I instead found a new inspiration about why as humans are always so in pain or in suffering.
What's up, lovely people? Welcome back to another video right here on Entrepreneur Podcast Club. I'm your host, Mr. EPC. Give a big, massive round of applause to my very special guest, all the way from Malaysia, Chiron. So, welcome to the show first and foremost, and thank you very much for your time. So,
Yeah, thank you for having me.
no problem. So you went on a self-searching mission. So, do you just want to tell the viewers a bit about your self-searching mission?
Yeah, I'll say that my self-searching, soul-searching mission started when I was 7, when I was diagnosed with autoimmune skin problems. And basically eczema, and basically during that time, a doctor just told me that I have to be medicated my whole life. So ever since then, my health did not go really well, and my parents and I, were forced to ask deeper questions about what is health and what it means to live a life that is functional as a human being. And unfortunately, after all the searches that we find together, it led us nowhere. And this is where I decided to stop medication when I was around 17. And that was when I picked up my first self-help book. And that's when I was off, searching for answers to heal. And unbeknownst to me, the healing journey led me down a spiritual path, and a path to really understand what it means to be a human in this world. Who am I? Why am I here? What's the purpose of life? So yeah, in a brief description, that's how my soul searching started.
Okay, fantastic. So you mentioned there that you had eczema. So you just want to tell the viewers about what age you got eczema?
So I got it around when I was 5, and it started off as a little rashes here and there. And I think it's kind of common to have for kids to have those reactions, those sensitivities, because their immunity is kind of like developing during that age. But for me, it did not stop there, and I started to have a lot of food allergies, to dust mites, to water sources that is not clean, and that led us into a confusing path, because my dad is this guy who trusts the Western medication, and my mom is someone who trusts traditional Chinese medicine. So as a kid, I was going back and forth between traditional herbal medicine, acupuncture, and then I go to see medical doctors about like skin specialists for steroid creams, antihistamines, all those kind of things. So we were confused which modality to choose. And it was very confusing growing up as a kid and not knowing why I had those experiences.
Okay. So did you have to take regular trips to the hospital to get, your blood tested to see what allergies you had, etc.?
Yep. I did so many blood tests. I did so many food allergy tests. And, none of the results were conclusive about something that actually caused this um, disease, right? And my food allergy test, every time it comes back, we take a couple of months off and then we do the retest. It keeps changing. So we don't really know what's really causing the sensitivities and the rashes and all of that is going on. Eventually, we just laid off. Um, this is when the dieting starts to come in for as a kid. Like I went from eating meat to becoming a vegetarian. There was a point of time I was vegan and raw vegan, and that did not work for me. And I started, doing keto diet, carnivore diet, paleo diet, and there was a journey, of sampling what is the root cause of this problem, and there was never really one, which I found out. There's more than one, right? I think health is not the absence of symptoms, which is what we think, no symptoms means we're in good health. So what I found out along my journey is that health is not the absence of symptoms, but the presence of love, homeostasis, connection, the ability for the body, the mind, the spirit to adapt to life, to situations.
Okay. So fast forward to today. Do you still have eczema, and do you have any food allergies today?
So I have no more major breakouts of flare-ups. I had not had any since 3.5 years ago. But prior to that, every year I always have a major breakout to a point that I could not function, whether it's going to school or work, that I had to stay home and just recover from it. So I'm really blessed right now that I don't have to experience another major breakout like that. Nevertheless, I still have rashes here and there, especially when I'm ingesting food that is not that clean, you know. So I eat organic, wholesome, whole foods, clean foods, basically that is unprocessed, and that's how like my body are able to absorb those nutrients that are in those things. So it's unfortunate that when I go out to eat, right, we can't just cook every day. When I go out to eat, it's like the food source on the food that's on our table is not always that clean because restaurants are businesses that needs to run things very quickly, and so people cut corners in terms of serving real quality food. And it's really unfortunate that good healthy food is expensive, and this is where I started to see the that issues of health is more than just a physical problem. It's also a social problem. It's also a relational problem, and it's also a spiritual problem. So what I really understood is that we need to really take the lens further out to see this whole thing in the bird's eye view, right? I even go to an extent to study the word health. The root word of the word health, right? The etymology of it means wholeness. It means something that is integrity, that it's talking to each other, right? Our cells talk to each other. We talk to each other. We and nature are always talking to each other. But it seems like in our modern society, like our education, our healthcare, the way we relate with one another has gone into a place of misalignment from deep connection to nature, and then we are out of balance. And while we're doing that, we are trying to find solutions to clean up or fix or make our symptoms go away. But in reality, symptoms are actually messengers, a feedback of where we have gone out of alignment and how to come back to wholeness.
Okay, fantastic. A really good
Yeah,
answer then, and a good insight into birth health as well. So,
yeah.
do you just want to tell the viewers a bit about yourself, where you're born and bred, what do you do for a living, etc.?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm born and raised in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, and then I've spent many years abroad. Spent 6 years in the US, for now 3.5 in the UK, and 1.5 years in Australia. Um, and actually, I did not choose to be doing what I do today, right? I did not choose to go into the healthcare industry to be a life coach. I call myself a spiritual health practitioner because I help people find purpose and passion back into their life, because I do see that purpose and passion is something that is missing from a lot of people's life, which led them down to a place of dysfunction or disease, right? So I did not choose to be this profession, like I've mentioned. I actually grew up um, in a very scientific methodology. My dad's an engineer, so as a kid, as an Asian Chinese kid, I don't know if that's relatable to other people out there, to the viewers, is that we have the kids have high expectation to achieve well in academics, to be good at sciences and maths, right? And on top of that, we have to be focused on our extracurricular activities so we can actually get to good universities and study. So I actually went to Imperial College you know for a month or two, and then I dropped out. It's because it wasn't something that I felt resonated deep down inside of me, and I was doing a math degree. And the funny thing is, after that, I took a gap year, and then I reapplied to school and went to London to UCL, University College of London, to do biochemistry. At that time, I wanted to be a nutritionist because I was aware that diet, food, these are so important when it comes to creating well-being in our lives, right? But 1 year after in the course, I just couldn't do lab work anymore because my skin was just so sensitive to the chemical that's in the lab. And then I dropped out again, right? 1 year after that, I met an astrologer, right? And that was when I felt something deep inside of me that there's something there, because this astrologer who I've seen led me to a path and have shared so much psychological insights that I told no one about and that resonated with me. So she guided me to move to the US to study something more connected to the spiritual path, which is psychology, philosophy. And at that time, I was studying specifically Buddhist psychology, which kind of informed a lot of the work that I do today. And the thing about Buddhist psychology is really understanding about non-attachment, about the middle way to see things in a clear way so that we can live our life more peacefully. So when you have a calm mind and a calm heart, your emotions are calm, we make better decisions and choices. So it's coming from that perspective that helps me to inform that if we can really see our life to commit ourselves to the truth of the matter rather than what we believe or what we want to see, then we can really create a harmonious life and also harmonious relationship with people around us. And to me, that is just a formula towards health and also happiness, which is really about not about something that like gratification, like you get a sweet and then you put it in your mouth and that kind of happiness. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the happiness that is unconditional, where you just get to be yourself, right? And you don't need anything more than yourself to be happy. Whatever that you get beyond that is just bonus, right? Just the ups and downs of life that is really teaching us to grow and become more conscious beings. So yeah, I grew up with a very interesting dynamic where it never really fit who I was as a person, and it never really did nurture the talents that I have and the gifts that I have. And this is something that I kind of like built up along the way when I decided to be a rebel, to go against my parents' choices and authentically choosing my path. And that is something that I don't regret doing. And this is how it got me here today.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
So you mentioned there that you moved to the UK to study. So how did you
Yeah.
find that shift, move from Malaysia to the UK?
Ah, right. So this is something that is pretty common for, I guess, the community that I grew up in Malaysia. I went to a private school, and I was blessed with this privilege for being able to have this education. So a lot of us, when we think about good education, we think about the UK, right? Because Malaysia, it's the systems that we have at home is really connected to how UK ran their system. Because once upon a time in history, Malaysia was colonized by the UK, the British, and basically a lot of the systems here mimic what's there. So we choose to go there because the education were able to support us when we were back here.
Okay, fantastic. And you've also got a new book coming out as well. We're filming this in Feb, and your book is
Yeah.
set to come out. So by the time this podcast is live, your book would have come out. So do you just want to tell the viewers a bit about the background about your book and when's it coming out, etc.?
Yeah, yeah. My book is really a memoir that I've written, and I started writing it because I wanted answers about why my human experience was the way it was. So I wrote this book about 6 years ago at the end of 2018, when I just graduated from my time in the US, right? And that was the time that I decided to be a life coach and basically utilizing all the wisdom and knowledge and experiences that I have to teach people, to guide people towards their most authentic path. I think the scariest part about life is not knowing where you're going and thinking that what you have right now in front of you is going to please you your entire life, to find out later that it doesn't fulfill you at all, right? So we spend a lot of time meeting expectations of others versus, you know, following our heart, following our bliss, moving towards something that's really authentic to who we are. So this is a journey of me in the book, basically moving from birth to childhood to being a teenager and figuring out relationships and leadership, and also moving into adulthood. Of course, a lot of it is centered in about healing, right? And healing is more than just physical health. I had to heal my birth trauma. I had to heal um, my relationship with my inner child who was really repressed growing up. And I was also learning how to heal what I understand to be a man in this world and relating with women, right? Because it was so confusing as I did not have a role model that I feel like I could trust as a man. And then, started talking a little bit about my experiences during COVID-19 and how that continued to flare up my autoimmune problems. And I was at the edge of ending my life because I felt like there was no way out despite all the different lessons and healing modalities, despite all the teachers, spiritual practitioners, holistic healers that I've seen that wasn't able to help me. So I thought I was a lost cause. But that experience invited me into a deeper connection with the universe, or to some people, it's God. It really brought me closer to the divine in so many ways that, wow, actually, right? If we really empty the heads, our minds, and all our preconceived ideas, notions about what we think we know is right, when we can just let that go, there's this inspiration that comes in, this intuition that we can listen, and God is always listening to the prayers that we are always asking for. So that in that time, of course, obviously I did not end my life. I instead found a new inspiration about why as humans are always so in pain or in suffering. We are, even when we have everything we want in the world, we are still in pain and suffering, right? So this is the book, Coming Home, and it's really about coming home to who you are as you are, the depths of who you are as a soul that is authentic, that is beautiful, that is resilient. And when you're able to connect, when your mind, body, and spirit are able to connect to this energy or this consciousness, healing is just a natural byproduct of it. So I actually named my book Coming Home, How I Courageously Love Myself into a Life of Wonder and Ordinary Magic. And I named it that way is because miracles are always happening right in front of us, right? It's just that we don't see it because we're so busy thinking, planning, figuring out, fixing things, judging, complaining. So it's really a journey of undoing. This book is really about unlearning myself, which really brings me to this concept of inner education rather than always seeking for content or education outside of myself. So it's really about how I found my own inner wisdom by being who I ordinarily am. So what I've realized through this book, in writing this book, is that, wow, everybody has a story and everybody should write their own story because there's so much wisdom that is within a person. I do believe that not one individual is more special than another. So if I'm special, everyone is special. But at the same time, because of that, we are all ordinary beings. And the difference between people who actually made it to do great things and people who are just mediocre is these ordinary people decided to make an extraordinary choice, and they stick to it again and again and again and again. And I feel like Entrepreneurs need that, business owners need that, leaders in the market, in wherever they are, needs that, so that people can see, you're human, I'm human. Wow, you're doing something different. You're so inspiring. And it takes a little bit, it takes some level of humility as a leader to be able to embody that. And those are the leaders that are actually inspiring me.
Okay, fantastic. So, what date is your book going to be released?
Right. I almost forgot about that. It's on February 20th, a little more than 2 weeks from now. Yeah, it's going to be out on Amazon. It's going to be available in paperback or in Kindle as an ebook.
Okay, fantastic. So, we'll put all the links to the book in the description box below. So, if you are interested in purchasing the book, do click on the link below and you could go ahead and purchase that book. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen, for this podcast. I've been your host, Mr. EPC. Big shout out to Chiron for taking the time out to speak to me today. And if you did like this podcast, please do hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. And do look out for the next podcast. And thank you very much for watching.